residents.
All right. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to
The flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Motion to adopt this resolution authorizing Lois, our bookkeeper, as responsible official authorized to access DOT's EOB system. I'm not going to read the resolution, but we need a.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Lois, Leslie, is Cornell on?
Yes, they are. Would this be a good
Okay.
for me to introduce Audrey,
ahead.
who's working with us?
Yeah.
Terrific. Hi, Audrey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Can you all hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you well. So Audrey Kropp is here from Cornell to present to us about the work that Cornell does with municipalities to support them in developing their disaster preparedness plans. If you recall, Cornell worked with us last fall, sort of right before Mary left, with Mary and Joe Spagnola, Kathleen Velletri, and James Finley, and I'm sure I'm forgetting others, but all of us took part in this audit of our current disaster preparedness plan, and we identified areas that we could add to or improve. So this project that Audrey is presenting on is really our next step in developing that plan. I should mention that we're also working with Cornell, with Audrey's colleague, Will McCall, simultaneously. That's a CSC, or a Climate Smart Communities project, where we're working on submitting the documentation to the state for bronze certification and working also on completing some ongoing projects there. I'll talk about that a little bit later on my CSC presentation, but I have a little background about Audrey for all of you. Audrey is the Climate Change and Environment and Natural Resources Program Manager at CCE Columbia Greene County. She's part of the Climate Resilience Partnership with Dutchess, Ulster, and Rensselaer counties. And in this initiative, they're acting to support municipalities with the CSC program and to help take CSC climate adaptation actions. The CCE Climate Resilience Partnership is a collaborative group of extension associations, including CCECG, that are, I'm not going to quiz anybody on all these acronyms, that are actively involved with the New York State Climate Smart Communities Program, providing outreach, education, and technical assistance to Hudson River Estuary Watershed and New York State communities. We are a Hudson River Estuary Watershed community. Created in 2012, the partnership is led by the New York State Water Resources Initiative at Cornell University and Cornell Cooperative Extension, with support from the New York State Department of Environmental and Conservation's Hudson River Estuary Program. The project aim is to work with municipalities, partnership organizations, and stakeholders to address the concerns of climate change by leveraging capacity through collaborative efforts. The partnership emphasis is on supporting municipalities with specific CSC adaptation actions, as well as to offer municipalities assistance with CSC certification submittal using the New York State CSC online portal. To date, the CCE staff, which is the Cornell Cooperative Extension staff, have assisted municipalities with CSC certification assessments and submittal, climate smart resiliency planning tools, which we've actually also already completed, Washington has, climate vulnerability assessments, climate resilience visions, culvert management programs, and more. So with that, Audrey, we'll turn it over to you for a little presentation on the kind of work that you might be engaging with Washington.
Sure. Thanks for having me, everyone. Today I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of the projects that we are working on with the town of Washington for throughout the rest of this year. So we're supporting two projects that Leslie mentioned. The first project is part of an action in the Climate Smart Communities program from Pledge Element 9, which is inspiring and informing the community about climate change and climate change adaptation. And what we're working on is an education and engagement strategy effort, and that entails the development of an emergency preparedness webpage on your municipal website, which you already have a placeholder for, as well as the development of 12 social media posts that can be deployed throughout the future, over time, kind of as needed or based on a schedule. We'll work with you to figure out what a timeline for that might be, as well as one newly developed, locally focused print resource that you can distribute within your community with locally relevant information. And in addition to that, we'll kind of prepare you with like what we're calling the toolkit. It's a toolkit of print resources that you can utilize as needed moving forward in the future. So as part of this process, we have already, I believe, deployed several surveys to get input on the types of information you would like to have included, and the survey also to collect the localized information to include in all of these resources and outreach documentation. So we've asked things like, do you have cooling centers? What are their locations, addresses? All of this information we can we'll be putting in your on your webpage, and also being able to link to all of that information. Did you have a question, Leslie?
I don't have a question, Audrey, but I have that for you, because that was some of the stuff that we did last year. So I should have our responses for you on that.
That's great. Yeah, I think we had them. We prepared like Google surveys, so I believe that we have that back end information based on what people have submitted. So we're taking all of that. Those responses and that information, and we're going to be preparing a template essentially for the website for you all to then review and kind of approve and make sure, you know, everything's there that you want to have there. So this will include information on emergency preparedness for a variety of climate change related impacts and, you know, extreme events that might occur. So it's a crossover. It's climate change related, but it's almost every emergency you can think of, essentially. So it will cover emergency preparedness kind of to its fullest, but there may be certain things that you want to highlight based on your specific community's local needs. So we'll be preparing that template for you all to review, and then essentially we'll work with your website. I'm not exactly sure who these people are just yet, but your website manager or whoever does the posting to your webpage to help you all get that information posted up on your webpage. And then also we're working with the Climate Smart Communities Task Force to develop that bank of 12 ready to go social media posts that we can develop a timeline if they're kind of generic posts that you want to put out, and you can do it based on seasonally, you know, what climate change impacts might be happening and what emergency preparedness information might be most useful at that time. And then also we'll be working to develop that unique brand new print resource that will have information that you find relevant, that you want to have out there and you want to be able to distribute. We'll additionally make every effort to try to get that translated into Spanish. And if we don't have the capacity or aren't able to get it translated, we will also work to look up some quotes from private consultants or companies that might be able to translate it for you, so you know where you can go next steps if you want to get it translated into Spanish. And again, we'll be providing you with this toolkit, and it'll be a Google folder of print resources on the various emergency preparedness information that can be useful in times of emergencies from, climate impact situations like flooding and heat waves. There's a huge range. We've actually had some folks interested in tornado information, the wide range of things, whatever you're interested in. So that's pretty much our process. We will develop drafts of everything and, provide you with the drafts to review and approve as we move along. And I think right now we're, like I mentioned, the surveys I think have been completed. So we're in the works of developing the templates, and we'll be submitting to you all for review and approval on those things coming up. So that's the emergency preparedness information, and we call it PE9 because it's Pledge Element 9 in the Climate Smart Communities program. So this, just so you all know, it fulfills at a minimum 2 actions in the Climate Smart Communities program. The first is the climate change education and engagement action, which involves the development of the strategy, which you are all, I believe, looking at a resolution tonight to pass and approve, which approves your strategy moving forward to address education and engagement around climate change. And then the other one is there's actually an action directly related to social media post. And we also may be able to fulfill there's a website, climate change education website. So depending on what the contents of the web page have, we might be able to fulfill that action as well. And that's that piece of it. And then, as Leslie mentioned, we're also working with your Climate Smart Communities Task Force to help you gather the documentation and prepare documentation to submit for bronze certification. Those applications can be submitted. I believe they have a submission dates of January, April, and July. So we're looking to pull together the documentation based on the actions you have already taken, and things you've already completed. And there might be a few things you're in the middle of finalizing. These, like I mentioned, at a minimum 2 actions will also be applied to your application. So we'll be working with your task force to, like I said, gather documentation. There's a portal where that documentation is uploaded and provided to support your application for bronze certification. And that's pretty much the gamut of what we're working on with you all. And if anybody has any questions or wanted to inquire about anything, I'd be happy to entertain any questions at this point.
Quick question on the printed things for the emergency preparedness. When we move along in the process and we have a plan, and it'll be on the website. I mean, if you have an emergency and the internet goes out, nobody's going to be able to look at your plan.
Yeah.
So is that plan, should we have that printed and maybe distributed to all the taxpayers in the town? Because if it's an emergency and everything is knocked out, no electricity, things like that, there's no way people are going to be able to look up the plan.
Right. Well, I think the hope with the print resource is that, and this is all kind of up to your discretion. You may want to perhaps provide a way. I mean, it might be kind of costly to print and distribute to an entire community. So you might want to have a way to house, if you have an emergency location, that you might have copies of it, and then you could direct people to be able to retrieve that if possible. And that kind of the point of the print resource would be to have most of the pertinent information that people would need in a time of emergency, and give them the best places to go or try to access at the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Audrey?
No.
Should I don't know if I should read the resolution. Bob sent me an email just correcting something on it, that we have 4 charging stations. I know we had 4. I was thinking it was 2 with each of the attachments, but it's actually, they're each separate for 4. So I just changed that in the resolution. So maybe I should just read it into the record quickly, just so it's accurate. And then Kristen, I just emailed you a revised copy that has the correct number.
Okay.
Is that okay? It'll just take me a second to read this.
Right.
Town of Washington resolution. Whereas the town of Washington believes that climate change poses a real and increasing threat to our local and global environments, and is primarily due to the burning of fossil fuels. And whereas the effects of climate change will endanger our infrastructure, economy, and livelihoods, harm our ecological communities, including native fish and wildlife populations, spread invasive species and exotic diseases, reduce drinking water supplies and recreational opportunities, and pose health threats to our citizens. And whereas the town of Washington believes that our response to climate change provides us with an unprecedented opportunity to save money and to build livable, energy independent, and secure communities, vibrant, innovative economies, healthy and safe schools, and resilient infrastructures. And whereas the town of Washington has taken the Climate Smart Communities Pledge in March 2022 and is currently working on bronze certified climate smart community in the state of New York by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. Whereas the town of Washington has prepared and adopted a climate smart resiliency planning tool in December 2023, and an assessment of the town of Washington's climate smart community initiatives establishes sustainability and climate goals. And whereas the town of Washington has taken several steps to begin addressing climate change, including but not limited to adopting a natural resources inventory, installing 4 electric charging stations for residents' use, replacing our streetlights with LED lighting. Whereas the town of Washington believes that even if emissions were dramatically reduced today, that communities would still be required to adapt to the effects of climate change for decades to come. It is hereby resolved the town of Washington, in order to continue its work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to a changing climate, adopts the New York State Climate Smart Communities Pledge, Element 9, Climate Change Education and Engagement, and commits to partnering with Cornell Cooperative Extension of Dutchess to develop a webpage for the town addressing climate change emergencies by presenting information, photographs, resources, and links for residents, and by hosting up to 12 social media posts to inform town residents of this new resource. So that's it. Do I have a motion to adopt this resolution?
Oh,
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
aye.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Fast
Thank
reader.
you.
Thank you, Audrey. I'll be in touch. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I just want to say you should all be proud of yourselves for making and taking these efforts. And I also did want to just mention, I don't know if I'm receiving a lot of rainfall at this point. So if anybody's traveling home tonight, please be safe in your travels and beware of flooded roadways, and do not pass if you cannot see the roadway.
Thank you very much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Audrey.
Take care.
You too.
Joe, you want to give your report?
Yes. As you know, at the last meeting, we were out to bid for a new dump. we bid off the Office of Government Services, the ODS bid, which are a lot of members. We had one truck bid. Just a 10 wheel dump truck. So, I tried to get some comparable prices. I really wasn't successful at doing that, just looking up, it's hard because what our spec sheet is and what these other trucks have in them or don't have in them, it's hard to sort of get a bid.
Yep.
According to law, you can accept the bid, even though there's one, because it is vetted, is the word that I was told by the Association of Towns, through a state bid. And you can do it through a national bid also. So you have the opportunity either to accept it or to go back out to bid.
What is your feeling?
I don't know what my feeling is. It's $210,000, which I expected it to be in that neighborhood, over 200. I really don't have anything to compare it to. It's $3,150 for shipping because it's in Alabama. So I really don't have a lot to tell you.
Well, the other option is to rebid it.
Bid it, or I go out on the Onondaga bid, start looking for call dealers and looking up, see if they're on the Onondaga bid, which is a town bid, but accepted by the state as a bid process.
You can piggyback off of that, right?
Yes,
That's
correct.
the idea.
Yes, and it's in our policies and procedures. We're
Right.
allowed to do that. So it'll take some time. And I called a couple of guys. Nobody really got any trucks.
So this one that's available,
Mm-hmm.
it's available, right, immediately?
October is what I'm told. Of course, I'm waiting for a 3,500, as you know, that we went out to bid on the OGS for a year and 4 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it's almost ready. Won't give you a date, but
Amazing.
But this truck is-
It's a small truck.
Yeah, but the big truck is on the ground. It's not upfitted yet. Is that it?
I don't think yet. No, the body's not on yet.
Right, but the
But the cabin chassis.
the chassis is
there,
on the
yeah.
ground.
I mean, your time frame is something you need.
Well,
fairly soon.
availability was part of the bid, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, truck five's chugging along, but, at some point when it goes, I don't know if going back out to bid throws me into, I don't know if there's somebody has something available. Why it wasn't bid, I don't know. I called the highway, president of the highway supers in Dutchess County Association, and he told me either they didn't see it or they're too busy.
Yeah.
I can't imagine they didn't see it. They have people that look for this sort of thing, so.
We put those things on the county BidNet site?
The OGS bid is
Is
I think
that,
one of the biggest. I mean, it's all over the country.
Yeah.
Its price isn't gonna get cheaper. They had a report on the news this afternoon that prices have escalated. They're gonna continue to escalate. Even used are now starting to escalate.
Yeah, they're going back up again.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I can make some calls and I can try to get a better idea of the price of the truck if you want. I continue to make some calls. I haven't tried a couple of people yet that were sent to me today, actually by someone, that may have some trucks available. If I find something comparably priced, then maybe we can just accept this bid. if you feel uncomfortable. My thing is, you know, at that price, you know, if we're 10,000 higher, 10,000 lower, you know,
Yeah,
Is it improper to call the people who bid on this vehicle and ask them, is there any negotiation on the
oh,
shipping?
yeah, no, I don't think that's, it's not like that. That's not how it goes. They give you the price and that's their price.
That's it.
Yeah, you know, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not the price necessarily, it's the availability at this point.
Yeah.
So not to get stuck on it, if you want, I'll reach out, make a few phone calls. I'd hate to have to wait to the next meeting for you to, okay, you know, be purchasing. the
I mean,
truck.
my feeling is if this truck meets your requirements,
You gotta get it.
do it, you know, before you
It
lose it.
does, it does. I'll make sure that, what I'm told here is all correct, but, I did talk to the Association of Towns and they said, because if I went out to bid without, one of these government agencies and only got one bid, you have to be bid.
Yeah, well, then you're, you know, you're wasting more time.
Yeah,
I mean, we're getting into how long would it take for you to get it, do you think?
well, he said October, but, you know, the last truck said November of last year.
So this is what
But
it
this truck is here, this truck is made, this truck is, like he said, on the ground.
is on.
So it needs a body and a
Yeah,
plow
just needs the body to be put on.
and
No
a
plow, it's a dump truck,
Oh, okay.
that's it. So it's a simple,
What kind is it?
Kenworth.
That would be my
I
recommendation.
say get it. If you wanna make a couple phone calls.
Yeah.
We give them
All right,
permission.
well, as long as you make
Within
a
a week?
motion that we
Buy
can
it.
purchase a truck,
Yep.
then we'll go from there.
Yeah,
Is that all right?
Make that motion, okay?
Yeah.
Make it.
I'll make it.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
I,
I,
All right, blacktopping has been moved, canceled today. It was supposed to start today. They're supposed to start Tuesday, but that got canceled. Then this got canceled for obvious reasons. The rebates, which are the milling of driveways
Mhm.
that are blacktop driveways, and the edges of where we're blacktopping to and from, were done today. So it's ready to go. I put out 100 cones. I'll probably get back 30. But I put out 100, you know, I'm kidding, that's not the exact amount, but, so that people identified some of their driveways were affected, but only about a little much. So, we're starting Monday, weather looks clear all next week, 70s, and hopefully we will be done by Thursday night sometime.
Beautiful.
South Road from Tyrell to Sarandale, I can't remember the address there. And then, we're leaving off there just because of the price to continue, and hopefully next year we'll do the rest of South Road and the Horseshoe, which is gonna take a lot of work to get done. Because it has so many catch basins that need rebuilding. And Jameson Hill, so, anyway.
Okay.
That's hopefully when we'll be on it. The cameras, we've gotten a price, a quote for the cameras. 7234 is what the quote came to. Policies and procedures say that you can, purchase this at our discretion up to 7,500. It was just under. If you want bids, other quotes, I will get them. I will first warn you that the last time I did this several years ago, I got 3 quotes. And the low one logged on me in 2 weeks, left town. Took his business and after he had given me the lowest quote,
Sure.
literally, packed up and moved. So this is Vector. If you want me to get another quote, I will. It's within the, you know, we're able to accept it, but if you want, I'll quick get another quote.
How many cameras in the system,
Just the 2.
which will be directed at?
Directed basically, at the salt shed, obviously anywhere that's, vulnerable.
Mhm.
It's not really vulnerable. The gates are locked. To get in there, you gotta do something to get in there with a vehicle. If you're gonna hop over a couple fences and fill a 5-gallon bucket with a salt and run back to your car with it, okay, but I think it's more for insurance purposes.
Yeah.
So if you want, I'll get one more quote. That makes sense. I mean, we're not required to, but I'll get them if you want.
Like, how much is it again?
72.34.
So why,
I will
you don't need to get another.
just go ahead and get it.
It's like below, it's $150, right?
Right.
It's below it's below the,
Yeah.
all right?
Get it.
Yeah.
What's your installation time, do you think?
He said he could be right out there, but there's a little to it. I gotta make sure that
Yeah.
there's an electrician involved to get the power to certain spots, but we've minimized all that, so it shouldn't be that.
And you'll have access off your phone to the cameras themselves?
Yes,
Good.
yes.
Perfect. Right, go ahead and do it.
I'm not sure if that's where my knowledge of all that is.
Yeah, cloud or DVR,
No.
probably cloud.
Right?
Yeah,
Good.
Okay, that's
Do
all I
it.
got
Yep.
for now.
good, Joe.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Lisa?
Yes, okay, so, so I'm in the thick of reviewing sales, giving the data collectors a lot of files, so they're a little overwhelmed right now, but, we've also had vacations, a lot of vacations this past month. The sales, it's really too early for me to kind of get a feel, but I'm optimistic that we're gonna be in a better place, but until I get through all of them, I won't really know. But I'm hoping that, we can at least stay where we are in equalization rate and maybe see it get better, but I don't know yet, it's too premature, but what I see so far is not too bad. So.
When will you know if it gets better or not?
Well, by next meeting, I'll give you a better idea.
Okay,
I'll have a better sense of it, but until the state actually runs all the analysis, I won't know for sure. But it doesn't seem as bad. It still seems like people are overpaying though. They definitely are still overpaying. I mean, there's sales I just don't see the value, so. But it is subsiding in other areas, so hopefully that will start to level off, or at least, hopefully it'll level off. But the main issue is inventory, and it's everywhere. It's not just here. Just not enough inventory. I'm hearing it all over the country. It's an issue in certain areas. Some areas not as much so, where they're doing more development, but we're very limited in this area with development, so.
Yeah.
In this town, there's not a lot of areas to develop, but.
any inquiries on Hitchcock's? Have you had any inquiries?
Yes, I've heard some, but again, it's all hearsay, so none of it appears to be developers
Okay.
that are planning to develop it anyway.
No official calls to your office though?
Oh, we've had calls through the real estate office,
Okay.
or the real estate office calling us through people asking questions. Yeah, but just on the,
Lisa, what kind of, are they asking questions about whether it will be reassessed, or what are some of the just general concerns?
no, actually, that, which, not relative to the assessment, but just a lot of questions with the ag exemption and the forestry. There's a lot of forestry.
Yeah.
In that property, and they're trying to understand, how that works, which again, that's really controlled by the DEC. So I have to flip a lot of that to the DEC to answer the questions that they have, other than what their plan, the length of their plans, their commitment and so forth. I can give them those answers, but as far as anything further than that, I've had to flip it. They don't have a lot of a huge ag exemption on it. It's just, there's not a lot of farmland on that property. It's mostly woodland, so. But fingers crossed,
Yep.
it'll stay,
Okay.
it's one property. McDale actually closed, I believe, this week. Still don't know who those owners are. So, doesn't look like it's a developer either. So Fingers crossed.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I had heard, I think that sale price was higher than we had originally heard. I think it closed at 10 million something.
Oh, nice. Oh, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, that would be really great, actually.
In fact, I can tell you because someone sent me the final, but it's over $10 million, which is
Oh,
just-
that's great. That's
And
better.
Leslie, did that include any more land?
That probably
You know,
would,
I don't know the answer to that, Gary. A 10,796,000 was the sale price.
Okay.
10 million,
35% over.
Initially, it was 50 acres, right?
about 60 something.
60.
And there was an option to buy like another 140 acres or so. But I heard that they ended up not being able to negotiate that, so I'm not sure what's gonna
Okay.
happen with that land.
All right.
You know, but, what did you hear? Did you hear that there's a separate transaction for the land or no?
No, I'm trying to find that out. There's a website called Portal One Home, which is where it listed the final sale price on it. It's almost like a Zillow sort of I think, site. But I just saw a screenshot of the final sale price, not whether land was included, but I can look and see if I can find that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that price doesn't sound like that would include the additional 150 acres. I would expect that land to sell for more than that,
Okay.
you know, the 10. Because I think it was supposed to
Well, it
be.
was from 8 to 10, so that's an extra $2 million.
Yeah, I still expect it to be more than that. Plus there was there was another fee on top of the 8 million, so I was expecting it to come in at 8.96. The 10.7, I'm not sure if that includes, there
Almost
was
$3 million
another.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I don't expect with the land, it would be more. The land is pretty valuable, so.
Good.
Yeah. So, we'll see.
How about
Yeah,
my
I hear
standard
you.
question about cooperation with the village? Are we getting?
We actually did get more,
You get
yep,
stuff
we did get more. Again, it's not,
on the street.
kind of as I expected, where we were gonna be getting things through some system or like on a
Right.
regular basis, but they did send everything through July 10th, I think it is.
Oh, that's good.
So, yeah, it's good. It's
Okay.
helping
That's
us.
encouraging.
I did make a request, because there is one house in particular that has a lot of work going on.
Hmm.
I'm, you know, no values on the permits, and that's, you know, there's some people spending a lot of money in renovations, a lot, and I really need to know those numbers. You know, just telling me that they're renovating and modifying the kitchen, I mean, that could be the gamut. I mean, modification could be $5,000, it could be $80,000 or more, you know. So I requested that they try to start filling in those numbers more. I mean, I know we're very diligent about that here, but that's been an ongoing issue. And, you know, it just seems like there's a wider gamut with the money that people are spending. Things are so expensive right now, so I really need to know that, though. Yeah. Yes, aside from that, I've been happier with the timing of things. I just,
Yeah,
Would
I
like
mean,
a
some
little bit
houses
more.
I see they're converting garage into living space and so it's increasing the square footage of the living quarters. Right?
that does happen from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially, you know, in the village where there's not a lot of space to expand.
Thank you.
There's a lot of work going on in the village, though. A lot of work, it seems like, coming out of the village. More than last year was a lot of like kind of upkeep. It seems like there's more renovation stuff going on this year.
Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Purcell, you are up.
Okay, this month, at the park on July 15th, on the lower pavilion, septic was leaking out of the broken pipes. On July 19th, Spear Sanitation came in and dug a trench, replaced the pipes from the tank to the distribution box. There are also 2 brand new pumps in the tank and the pump chamber at the park. And they also put in a new alarm system inside my shop at the park. So that's been all updated. I spoke yesterday with Michael DeRusso. He is the engineer. He is designing a new system right now. And then, after that, I think it goes back to John, and then the Department of Health, and then they can start installing the new system. Also, this month, I took my kayak out on the reservoir, and I measured the depth of it and the water temperature, because Trout Unlimited was there for camp. At the deepest spot, it's only 8 feet deep.
Is that right?
Yeah,
By the
it's all
sand
silted in.
filter and the spillway, it's only
Wow.
7. And the temperature is between 78 and 78 degrees. So Trout Unlimited said they could put bass in there, but they couldn't put trout in.
Why, is it too warm?
It's too
Yeah.
warm.
And we may have to dredge that in the future, because that's all that silt
God, I
that's coming
thought-
up the
yeah.
hills and streams.
Sure.
I can't remember the last time that was dredged. It
I
had to
don't
be,
think it ever was.
it's gotta be 15, 20 years ago at least,
I don't think it ever was.
What depth would we like to see it at?
12 to 15 probably.
Do you know what the depth was?
No idea.
Trout can survive in 14,
I'm not sure.
12, but 8 feet, 8 feet's really shallow.
Yeah, of course. it
And that's
is.
why last year, when we got that drought, everything was dropping so quickly. And this year with all the rain, it's spilling over.
Right.
But Matt's installed that board near the spillway.
Yeah.
So if that board was not there, then your depth would probably be 7 feet or less, right?
That board is a 2x6, so 5.5 inches less. So it'd be around, 7'6" or something.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Deepest. On July 31st, Taylor Oil was here and serviced the 2 furnaces downstairs. That's all taken care of. And also, actually, September 19th is the delivery date for the composting toilet. We have picked the site. I've worked with Joe, and we will get everything set up that week and install it. And then I've been working on estimates and meeting with sales reps for future park projects. I'll take care of the roofing over there. It's no problem. I can do all that, and a new entry sign. Me and Mike have spoke about that, and Bob. And then upgrades such as pricing out grills and tables for the park.
Good, awesome. So Matt needs a truck. Doesn't have to be a dump truck, doesn't have to be new, but it should be a pickup with a plow. So we should think about that.
It doesn't need a plow, does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, it's gonna be 12 months a year up there, so we have to plow that entryway.
And he does it here
Yeah.
too.
And he does the
He's already
driving.
got rid of their tow truck.
Yeah, was not good.
Well, if something happened to it, it
It,
burned up.
the truck died on me
No.
on Tuesday.
It did.
It wouldn't start, and it started
Oh,
smoking,
The traffic,
and they towed it back to the highway garage.
the body on that was gone.
No, I know that.
So anyway, we need to think about that.
Budget's coming up.
Yeah,
I told him to add it to his list.
Huh?
I know,
That list is big.
yeah. But Matt can do his own sign.
I could roof both of those buildings.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Which will,
Fantastic. Thanks for your report too.
Thanks for coming, Matt.
Danielle?
Okay, so you have copies of the pool admission that was requested and also the financial reports for the summer clinics.
Mhm.
I'll have more of that when I get all the bills and everything in for some of the other camps. The CDBG award letter went out to VAD, which is the construction company that was approved. And I've been working with John Gifford on the new contract that will be sent to them, and hopefully we'll have that tomorrow. I can email it to them, and hopefully those signs we can get started.
Makes perfect.
It all goes to the plan schedule, everything should be done by mid-November.
Oh.
The Department of Health came to the park, we have 2 different inspectors that come for our water and for the park and pool, or the camp and pool, and those inspections happened without any problems.
Oh, good.
So we're good to go. The pool will be open until August 17th because of lifeguards going back to college. So anybody that doesn't know, I'm not quite sure if everybody does know, we need at least 3 lifeguards on at a time. And we have to have at least one of them 18 with 2 years experience. So all of the older kids are going back.
So it'll be closed next weekend.
We don't even have enough to do Sunday. So it would have been nice to do the whole weekend, but
Well, this week must have been a washout, right?
pretty much,
Yeah.
But your pavilion rentals will continue.
yes. So camp ended last week and we had our ice cream social, art show and slideshow, and we had about 60 people in attendance.
Hmm.
Thanks to Stewart Ice Cream Shop for the donation of the ice cream sprinkles and sauces. And another thank you goes out to Emmeline Heaney. She volunteered for a week to work as a drama camp for the kids. So that was nice to have. And the Dutchess County Sheriff's Department brought the dogs out and showed demonstrations.
That's cool.
The kids always love that, so thank you to them. Fall soccer is open, has been open for quite a while. We only have 32 kids signed up for it, so
Wow.
that's.
They'll come.
Christmas Spectacular, we have 17 out of the 45 tickets taken, and we had our annual Lake George trip with the seniors, and it was the most beautiful day. 43 seniors had a fantastic time. The food was good, the company was great, and the weather was
Good.
perfect.
Awesome.
Oh,
That's
good.
fun.
Yep.
Oh, also, if anybody out there is looking for buckets,
For what?
you know how you go to Home Depot and you get 5-gallon buckets that you
Yeah.
can use?
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, our
Chlorine.
chemicals come in those big buckets and we have plenty of them. Instead of throwing them out, I put them aside and they're at the library booth if anybody wants
Okay.
free buckets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got some free ones too at my house. So.
We'd rather not do
Next
that,
to the
so.
driveway. It's-
Thank you. Jonathan,
Okay, so for July, I had 36 inspections, site visits, issued 24 building permits, renewed 1. I issued 8 certificates of occupancy, 2 certificates of compliance. There were 8 expired permits at the end of July. There are 4 cases of fire inspections being overdue. One of them I have on Friday, so that'll drop that number. There were no new building only complaints in July. For zoning, did 3 municipal searches. 1 needed a site visit, 2 FOIL requests were requested and completed. And then, I'm sure we all know, there were multiple complaints against the property, with multiple violations of zoning and the property maintenance code. I've reached out to the town attorney, still waiting to hear back from him, you guys got the email for that. But Bob has reached out to the homeowner and tenant as well, and they are supposed to be working on it. Me and him will be going, once they finish next week, to inspect it. And I'll update you guys and we'll go from there on
they
it.
have done some work down there.
They have done some work, but
Yep.
There's a lot more to do.
there's a lot more to do, and I also have some idea where they might be stashing some of the stuff they've taken out of the main yard, so we'll see.
Imagine.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jonathan to that inspection, and because we had a 3-way conversation with the tenant and the owner and myself. And the owner's in Palm Beach, so he's an absentee owner. And, he says he cares, but
Yeah.
he wants the property to be 100% compliant. And, I pretty much told him that he should have somebody inspect the inside of the house. It's a little bit of a mess. We're hoping that, they did start cleaning it up. He knows the rules, the tenant knows the rules, so.
Yeah.
At first he thought we were harassing him, but he understood because the owner of the house was on the phone, and I told him, this is a courtesy call. We're being nice to you. We're asking you to clean it up, pretty much mostly to the homeowner, the owner himself.
Mhm.
It's his responsibility. It's his property. So Jonathan and I will go down and we'll see what happens, and if it's not corrected, then we'll have to continue with action.
Thanks, Jonathan. Good report.
Busy. Jonathan's busy guy.
Yeah, it all will.
So we
You know, you
have,
could barely see his head over the piles. of
So
we have Lois.
Lois is not here, right?
Right, and Chrissy's not here. Mike, you want to give us yours?
Yeah, for the court, we've been tracking the amount of money going through the court. As of June, it was 5,000, slightly more than $5,000 for the June penalties, bringing it to a yearly amount of 26,594. That's through June.
What's that for, Mike?
Those are all the fees that are fines that are allocated
Oh,
against the court.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
So we're about 26,500 through the June deposits. I also asked them to track for us the number of appearances. There were number of defendants at July's court were 30 with the number of charges of 38. And then the projected fines, which have not been audited yet, were $3,800. But both those totals that I've given you have not been broken out into what's allocated to village or town yet, because the state hasn't returned those estimates yet. So that takes care of court. As far as recreation goes, first, kudos to Danielle and her staff for the summer camp.
Yeah.
Good responses from the parents and the kids especially. I went up the last day for a short period of time and they're face painting and running around, but that was good. And the parents seemed to be thrilled with the program. And also the kudos again to Danielle for the increased attention to the seniors this year. And the relationship with the seniors has improved tremendously. The various trips, not just the Lake George one, but the previous one, the feedback from that. And then the interest in the trip to New York for the holiday show shows that we're getting out there. Danielle didn't mention this, but she did mention it to me, so I'll mention it to you. The board wants a little bit more outreach to make the community aware of the type of programs we have. So dovetailing that to my research of what we want to try and do on the recreation site up in Mavisville with improvements on the entranceway, improving, as Matt is looking at various things to improve. I spoke to a contractor who deals with stonework, and he's given me a projected cost on what the entranceway as you get into the park, maybe a stone little fence like what is between the diner and the funeral home here on Franklin Avenue, something there. So he's given me a projected cost on that. I've passed that along to Lois. Dovetailing the need to communicate more. We did kind of a brainstorming, and one of those electric display informational signs, which are similar out in front of the firehouse or Unionvale House, a two-sided one that would be maybe from 4480 or 44 into the center of a field that we have out in front. Both sides would be able to, especially if it's a 12-month-a-year site, Easter hunt, egg hunt, camp opening, just the kind of, I'll cost those out. I've checked with Jonathan to see the code. As long as it's not advertising and it's not blinding drivers and so on, there's a possibility there. But there's a Glody sign in Poughkeepsie. I'll be working with them to ask them to give me an
I
estimate.
think the one at Firehouse could pay $25,000.
Correct, but that's one-sided and the writing is very small. The one down in Unionvale, which is right near the road,
Yeah.
which this one wouldn't be, but that's much larger and you can digitize all your information on that. Doesn't need a fancy underneath, doesn't need a bunch of stuff, but we'll just get an estimated cost. If that doesn't work,
We'll have to
Yeah,
send Matt down your house to protect
Would
you.
we want that on at night?
you can time them.
Yeah.
You can time them.
That would be,
But if we're gonna open
Light
up
pollution.
sunrise to sunset, and you start getting into the fall months, and that starts to get dusk to dawn kind of thing, you want some visibility, and that's going to be the headquarters for recreation.
where would you want it visible to? Or, I mean, like
both
what
ways.
location?
Both ways,
Because you know, when you have an illuminated sign like that,
correct,
you know what the gas station up there went through.
absolutely, and that's why I checked with Jonathan already.
So I have a question, like, why would we need to have a sign like that? Danny, or why would we need?
One of the
Like,
major
as
reasons is
opposed-
because the seniors are not getting information that they
We don't
need
have
to
a
know.
newspaper.
If that's gonna be a senior center
Correct.
and they're not on computers and they're not part of our programming, we
Couldn't
want
it-
them to know it's there.
Couldn't it be handed out at a lunch, a handout at a
But
lunch?
you're not hitting everybody.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because
Well, here's my,
my,
go ahead.
just like
We're-
Gary said,
we're
you
gonna
know,
get
like,
to-
big uproar just because of that sign in front of a gas station.
Right now, I'm just pricing it. If there's opposition, we can go to a sign out there that's facing both ways and it becomes the old
Yeah,
with the lettering in. But there has to be something there that communicates that this is the recreation headquarters and these are the programs that are being offered during a certain period of the year.
like,
For seniors, Easter egg hunt, Christmas show,
like the
camp.
the seniors, like, do they have email or most of them don't have it? A lot of them don't.
No, they're filling out forms still here.
They are.
Plus it just highlights that this is your center.
And you know what? Leslie was just talking about having a place for a cooling station.
Yep.
That is in our plans. for
Emergency site.
It's gonna be
cooling
the only
station.
building that can be in the town to have a cooling station, and we wanna get people to have that information if it's so hot that they need someplace like that. And this sign would be something that could say, if you need air conditioning, you can come here. If you're out of heat, you can come here. You know, we could open it up to emergencies like she was talking about earlier.
And as I've mentioned before, all I'm doing is collecting cost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have an electrician right now that is researching for me what the cost of an electric gate at the entrance to the pool area, meaning the road area, and also an electric gate on the upper field that can be programmed to open at 6 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. We have had an incident within the month of someone being on the upper field at an inappropriate hour without permission and going down and getting into the pool.
That's right.
So that gate needs to be a closed gate too, rather than depending on a staff member unlocking it, locking,
Okay.
or a neighbor coming across last summer and doing it for us. So I'll get all those costs together. But yes, the reason I bring it up is because I did check with Jonathan to see if it's a possibility. And if we're going to have a possibility, then we should have at least a reference of what the cost would be.
Sure.
And we'll go from there.
Yep.
But the internal signs, like that Matt is going to build or improve upon, would have things like, carry in, carry out, or certain emergency things, or beware of the bear kind of thing, which may be a down lighting that would not be infringing on any neighbors or the road itself. But the one at the road, whether it's electric or non-electric, it needs to be an informational sign. And if it requires us to put lettering on it that's readable when you drive by, like a billboard, then we'll have to cost that out too, which will be obviously much cheaper. But I'll put all this in the file. Every time I get a cost, I give it to Lois and we'll project it into a budget. And if we have to work it through the budget or we go out for public support,
Yep.
we'll do that. That's it. That's all I got.
Eventually, it'd be nice to get a generator for that building too, if it will be the kind of place that we use for emergencies.
You eventually you'll have to.
So something else that will build into that kind of projected cost. But I think
I
that's,
also, sorry, Mike.
I'm asking for these numbers that they've been giving us on the use of the park. That doesn't mean that that's an individual. Each of those numbers doesn't represent a person. It represents a visit. So one person could have a pass and go there 25 times. They'll get counted as 25 visits.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Leslie.
I was just going to say, I don't know how much it would cost, but Danielle made me think of it when she mentioned seniors not being, on the webpage and things like that, or on social media. There are certain towns that have like text notifications. People have to opt into it, but I can find out about that. That way, if there is an emergency, and it could be like, I remember we had a neighbor call us because there was from Stallion Park, there was some rogue African bull that had horns that was loose and like very dangerous, and they had to shoot it dead to Iraq. Anyway, so in our case, it could be wild animals, it could be, weather, it could be heat, it could be a whole host, it could be a bear, that's whatever it is, we might be able to have, a system in place where we are able to text residents.
On my website, there is texting capability.
Yeah, Leslie, I think what Mike is saying that is that if, we have a certain core of seniors, but we're not reaching all of them.
Right.
And the ones that we don't have their information, then they drive by, they can sign.
Yeah. No, I think the sign's a great idea.
We had just adding on to Danielle's report, she had an incident with a woman that got a season pass, you know about it. And she recently moved, didn't get to use the park and requested a refund on the season, but she just requested it like, a week ago? And the pool is going to be closed. Do we have anywhere that says that a season where it's non-refundable? Do you know? Huh?
We do not.
We do not.
There's a couple of policies that I don't, is it during a town board meeting that I have to talk to you about it, or do I just talk to Mike about policies?
Talk to Mike.
Start,
Sure.
whatever it means to bring to us.
But maybe we
Start,
should
yeah.
insert that somewhere along the way, just so we don't run into this again. Because she got pretty indignant with Danielle. And then she wrote me a letter. She was threatening to go to the Attorney General.
How much was a season pass?
225.
She lives in Swan Lake, so it was $225.
And those passes were available for purchase beginning in April,
She purchased it in May.
May. And this is the second week in August.
We don't know if she used it or didn't use it.
We don't know, right?
But that's the point. Buying a pass gives you the flexibility of when you want to go, if you want to go.
Right.
Now, I don't know if it's comparable if you go to Gold's Gym, you get a 3-month
Right.
pass and you never use it.
Do you go back and ask for a refund?
Yeah.
This is just,
Before the 3 months.
So we have no way of knowing whether she used it or not.
No.
We do.
Don't have that.
We don't count names of people that come in. We only count that it was a pass that got them in on a daily basis.
I think this is just very,
Even if she could go, it doesn't really matter
No.
because she chose not to go. Her life got busy. She has a small baby and she doesn't live right around the corner. So I'm sure, given her the benefit of the doubt, things got busy in her life and she wasn't able to make it.
I mean, I like the point that you're making that maybe somewhere we need to, on anything that we offer. Just like if you go to Yankee Stadium,
Yeah.
this is not refundable. So we'll talk about it.
Leslie,
oh yeah.
do you want to say something?
No, I just was saying that I agree that this is, I mean, it's like getting a gym membership after Christmas, and if you don't use it, that's not Force's fault, it just is.
Right.
It's, I think they're, I'm sorry that happened, Danielle, that's
Okay.
frustrating.
Go
Did you
ahead.
want Gary to make my report or?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So planning board, they had 4 applications before them. The first was the Presser application for on Valley Farm Road. It was a public hearing for site plan approval for interior and exterior renovations. It had been referred to county last month. County responded saying it was a matter of local concern. There were no comments from the public. There was a question from one resident about whether there were wetlands there, which there are not. The public hearing was closed and the planning board approved their site plan. Second application was the Florac application on Deep Hollow Road. They want to add a first-story addition. They've already gotten a variance from the ZBA as their setback, I guess, is non-conforming, and they're going 19 feet into this, or maybe they're 19 feet into their setback. I have an application to make an addition of a laundry room and pantry off their kitchen of approximately 389, square feet. So they were seeking a special permit and site plan approval from the planning board. Their architect was there to present and explain the project. The planning board classified the application, as type 2 under seeker, and they referred it to county, and they set a public hearing for September. The third application was on Hammond Hill, was an applicant who seeks to sell produce at a small retail business there. It's I'm sorry, it's not on Hammond Hill. The resident's last name is Hammond, and it's 3815 Route 44. They're looking for a special permit as it's in the HM district. There's no construction being proposed. It would operate out of an existing structure, and they scheduled a public hearing for September, for next month. The fourth application is the Clear applications. It's another workshop. This is, you may have heard me mention this, or I don't know if it's been before the ZBA, but they're looking to subdivide 90 acres on Woodstock Road, dividing the property into 5 lots. There are existing structures on 2 of the proposed parcels that they're looking to divide the property into 5. 2 already have the existing, 2 parcels already have existing structures. The other 3 are just open land that would be sold for single-family residential houses. 4 of the lots would be accessed from Woodstock Road and 1 from Stamford Road. The planning board voted to declare their intent to act as lead agent on the application and to send notice to, they sent notice to all interested parties and agencies actually today, the DEC, county planning, the town of Washington, and the board and highway departments, and highway superintendent. They also referred it to the CAC for comment. As I mentioned, those notices were sent today, and they will be back in September for a continued workshop on that application. So it's not a public hearing. They're still looking to gather more information. The CAC met last night. Representatives who presented on that Clear application on that Woodstock Road subdivision I just mentioned came to present to the CAC on their plans for the subdivision. They discussed proposing a cluster plan or cluster zoning there for this subdivision. There is no construction plan, so the CAC wasn't sure if they should draft a letter and formally comment to the planning board with their thoughts on this application thus far, or they should wait until they get more information from the applicant. They plan to go back to the planning board chair, Susan Meany, for some guidance on that. I attended the meeting and provided a report on the work of the CSC, which we covered a little bit of with the presentation from Audrey Kropp, and I'll get to my CSC presentation for you all in a second. The CAC also discussed how they used to have a line item in the town's budget in case they needed funds for speakers or experts. And I guess if the money wasn't used, the money would then revert back to some sort of reserve fund. They didn't provide any specific details or amounts, but they did ask me to formally raise this issue or request with the board. So I'm doing that now. And Howard, I don't know if you have any comments because you were the person who.
No, comment I have is that most of the time when you look back in your budget histories, it wasn't used and it reverted back into the general fund. So this is for rare occasions when something pops up suddenly. So it's really not a big loss to the town because it's not spent almost all the time.
Doesn't the applicant normally pay for any, if we have to hire a consultant or whatever, a special consultant, don't they pay for it?
Right?
They do. And that's, I shared that with the CAC, that because we did talk about how the CAC asked for the ability to retain an expert to opine on the proposed hospitality overlay legislation. And I had spoken with Nan Stolzenberg about it and Jim Stout, and they said they have not seen that done, that, the town retains an expert, and that expert is usually retained, for the town through the planning board. And that's, you wouldn't have one expert for the planning board and a separate expert for the CAC, but Howard had raised that I guess it was done historically. I don't know I know that the CAC, for example, did have a speaker come to talk about wetlands, and one of the CAC members paid for that speaker out of pocket. So I don't know. I agreed and said that I would formally raise it with you all. But I think it sounds like the CAC might want to come back to the board with a more, detailed,
I think Margaret is working on.
okay,
Yeah.
about what you're really thinking and what kind of number you're talking about and what sort of use, that budget, that line item was used for, in the past.
I can just speak, being around a long time, that most of the time that budget line went back to you, and it wasn't like you lost X amount of money every year to spent frivolously. It wasn't, and you can check the records on that if you want.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, but Howard, I guess my response to that would be if we weren't using the money,
That was used
why do
occasionally.
we need to budget for it? Why do we need it? That was just a question I would ask you all to come back and,
It
and
was
answer.
not use. It wasn't to be used all the time. If something came up and they needed a little bit of money for something, it was used, but it wasn't like, you're giving the CAC, I'm gonna make up a number that's not true.
Yeah.
$1,000 budget line every year, and then the town just lost $1,000. Most of the time, it just went back into your general funds.
And it's true of every
Well,
department that's money is not
yeah,
spent, it
that's-
rolls back in.
Right.
But
That's what I'm
certainly
saying.
they shouldn't be paying out of their pocket.
It depends what it is, yeah.
To have-
It might be, don't know exactly a
Right.
specific example of what top of my head at the moment, but most of the time that's correct, the applicant has to pay for certain things, but there may be something that comes up and, they want to spend a little money on it and it's there,
Right.
That's all it
All
is.
right.
I think
Yeah,
if Margaret addresses it properly, it might be an education line.
Right.
Spent to bring somebody in to
Right.
educate the board on a certain,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
but not for outside hiring of a consultant.
No.
Yeah, I think that would be, and the other thing I thought of too is we could always ask Lois. I know wasn't able to be here tonight, but just about how, if something did arise with the CAC where they wanted to retain an expert for something or whatever, is there a mechanism for them to come to the board and say, we'd like to hire this person, here's the cost of it. And then Lois has the discretion to present that to us to say, I can pull it from this line item, or maybe not. I guess what I'm getting at, maybe it makes sense, instead of having something just
The only way
it's
she would-
CAC, maybe there's some other line item that we currently have in our budget where we'd have some flexibility to be able to give them money should they need it for something.
If there's a line item in the budget, it's for a certain amount, and they need to bring something above that amount, then they need to come to us. But if it's already can be spent within that line item, they don't need to come to us for it.
Oh, no, I know, but I'm just saying if it always reverted back and it didn't, and they weren't using it, maybe from an accounting perspective, it makes sense just
No.
to Lois, if it could be part of a bigger thing. And maybe the answer is no. I just thought we could ask her thoughts on how to, the best way to account for it.
Well, we'll see what Margaret has.
Yeah,
up.
Margaret will give you something.
Okay.
Sounds good. And then my last item is the CSC. As I mentioned earlier, we are working with this Will McCall from Cornell to go through the projects we've already completed to gather that documentation. Shout out and thank you to Bob for helping get some documentation for me and point me in the right direction with the documentation we need for the electric charging stations. And then beyond that, Margaret Schneibel and Colleen Howland and I met last week to discuss a pilot composting program for the town. We're just sort of in the information gathering stage. I went to look at the Sharon transfer station, which is an inspiration. I mean, they have you can recycle anything there. I mean, tires, electronics, and they also have a swap shop. So you can drop off furniture, or, any household item, and you can, if you drop something off, you can pick up something else, or you can just go and pick up anything that you want. And it's when I'm in next, I'll show you all pictures. It's kind of a neat project and reduces waste. So Colleen Howland had connected with Deirdre Houston. I guess Deirdre had spoken with Colleen earlier that Dutchess County is offering some grant money around these composting programs for municipalities. A lot of our neighboring municipalities are apparently doing it. Unfortunately, the deadline was August 1st. So I said to Deirdre, is there any flexibility on that? You know, if I reached out to the, you know, the county exec, or is there anybody within the county government that we could ask for some, you know, consideration after that deadline date? I haven't heard back on that yet, but anyway, it would be great for us to do, at least what most towns do, is to do like a pilot program, but it'd be a great way to get the schools involved or restaurants. And so anyway, I'll come back with more information. We're just sort of information gathering there, and then continuing to work on getting the documentation for our bronze certification, which we hope to have completed by the end of 2024. That's the next time the submission deadline is. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much. Great, good report. Joe?
All right, so I'm gonna actually duplicate a lot of what Leslie said because, well, you'll hear it. So the zoning board held their monthly meeting on July 16th. Frank Rattle called the meeting to order in the absence of Chairman John Parisi. There was one item on the agenda, the Floric resident at 677 DePaula Road. He requested a front yard variance and special use permit to increase the size of the house with a new addition. The May meeting minutes were approved by members prior to hearing the application. Tracy Floric and her architect explained the request for the variance. They are requesting a 19.9 foot front yard setback variance. The addition will include converting an existing storage building to the house with an enclosed hallway, laundry area, adding a front porch, as well as minor features. The proposed additions is 614 square feet. Public hearing opened. Howard asked if there were wetland considerations. The answer was no. There's no wetlands involved with the new addition. No further public comments. Public hearing closed. Motion to declare a Type 2 SECRA approved. Motion to grant variance approved. Motion to grant special use permit approved. Meeting adjourned at 6:38. The August ZBA meeting is canceled due to lack of applications, so the next meeting is September 17th.
Wow.
So did everybody get my email regarding John Parisi and my hopes to point?
Yes.
I wanted this on the agenda, but I'll just make a motion to appoint Frank Rettel as chairman of the zoning board.
Absolutely.
Is he resigning?
John Parisi
John
is not-
Parisi
has stepped
resigned.
aside.
So
John
once
has stepped
again,
aside.
okay, once again, I made a motion to appoint Frank Rettel as,
I'll second it.
okay, Mike second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And at this point in time, and hopefully we can thank him in better circumstance, but for thanking John for his many
Oh,
years of
absolutely.
service.
Yeah, he took my
And,
place.
yeah.
I sent him an email just
So,
quick.
in appointing Frank, I canvassed all the existing board members, and their response to it was 100%, absolutely, 100%.
Good.
Yes, please.
Good.
So it's
Glad to hear
unanimous
that.
for that. So
Sure.
Frank could not be here tonight, but he will come in next week to sign the oath.
Swear.
Good.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Yeah.
Thanks, John. Bob?
Make it kind of short. The roof bid was, we got one bid from somebody out of town. Just to refresh your memory, we had a roofer volunteer to come down and take a look at the roof. Been in business for 60 plus years. Did a drone thing with the roof using, high grade shingles, and using the formula for the wages you have to use. And he said that that roof would probably cost us in the high 30s to low 40s if we didn't have to pay prevailing wage. If it was prevailing wage, it would probably be between 60 and 66,000. and the bid was for 92,000. And the people who bid it don't know who they are. They never contacted me or the town hall to inspect it or look at it, or I'm sure they just did a Google Earth and threw a number at it. So I would imagine that we'll have to put it out to bid a second time, and then if we don't get any bids, then we'll have to solicit a couple of bids to people to do it. I'll probably do that while we're bidding, because we need to have a contract signed by December to use the ARPA
Right.
money
The ARPA money, right?
for that roof.
Yep.
So I just wanted to fill you in on that. I made 3 phone calls in the last 10 days to other companies to take a look at this wheelchair lift that's just sitting there, not functioning. Because the other company, they want $1,600 to drive up there and just take a look at it. And that doesn't count their time when they're here. That's just to show up. So D&D Elevator.
Yep.
The owner wasn't around, but the person I spoke to said that they're going to speak to him to see if he'd be willing to take a look at it. It's not a product that they sell, but they do all elevators. So I'm working on it. The transfer station, I've got pages of other transfer station. I never did Sharon, and I should do Sharon. But I did Pleasant Valley and Union Vale and Stanford, and everybody's pricing and everything it's all over the place. It's totally different than the way we do it. Our pricing is very specific. We don't get, according to the guys at the transfer station, we don't get a lot of complaints on it. So I'm still working on that to figure out a way to just narrow without charging the taxpayers a lot more, trying to narrow the budget deficit there. There's about last year it was a $7,697 deficit at there. And I think if we just tighten it up and do the credit card thing like I spoke to you about before, I think without raising the things, just give it a try. And according to everybody I talked to here and the guys up at the transfer station, they thought that was a good idea, because this way we'll get our money quicker, and they'd have to tighten up their signature. But anyway, so that's a continued work in progress. And I apologize for taking a long time on some of these things, but again, I spoke to Joe Gross. He's working on our cybersecurity insurance to raise our limits, because our limits are not very, very good. Our coverage is okay, but not where it possibly should be. So he was checking with a few other municipalities himself. He's going to shop around and see what he can do for us. So I'm working on that. I did want to ask the board, maybe with Matt still sitting here, when fall comes and the leaves are gone and stuff, do you want to cut back all this growth on this fence back here? Because it's growing into the parking lot. Yeah, we'll have to do it on a day when there's no one here, but it wouldn't take long to just get some hedge trimmers and just.
I don't have a proper outside of it.
Yeah, we can whack it all out.
The weight of that is gonna start moving your.
Oh,
fence.
yeah. Okay, so we'll take care of that. Jonathan spoke about the property, 4705 Route 82. Hopefully, we'll inspect that next week. Joe said he would, as soon as he gets caught up a little bit, he's gonna blacktop the ditch out there to get rid of the bumps.
Good.
Since we're not gonna electrify the shed, there's not really a good reason to do it. And the last item is, I spoke to Matt about a truck for his use. And we're gonna do some good research. on it.
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll see if somebody can donate.
That would be nice. That would be wonderful.
No, I don't think we'll ever find that.
I have somebody who has an old white Chevy pickup.
Yeah. Oh, dude, he's welcome to use that every day, as long as it doesn't
Fall apart.
fall apart. Runs like a top. No, that's not, that's it. That's all
Okay,
I-
good. Bob. Thank you.
Bob, and when I went to the Sharon station, they had this notice apparently, and I don't know if we've already done this and this is a bad idea, I'll just throw it out to everybody, but they just charge everybody $60 like as part of their taxes. It's separate in a line item and everybody gets to use the transfer station. Because I guess what they found was that, you know, it was so cumbersome for the staff to have to take people's payments, chase people down for payments, and it just helped them cover their costs, and they just did a flat number. And then they noticed that the use went up, which was great, but they just didn't have the headache of you know, dealing with the administration of the
Well,
passive.
the problem basically, I think, is the contractors using the, you know, a roofing company comes and dumps, you know, the 4 dump trucks loads of shingles in their contract dumpster. And they weigh a ton, and we get charged by the weight of those dumpsters, and we have to charge the contractors. And then you have people bringing, you know, scrap lumber and wash machines, and well, the metal items, there's no charge for, because we actually should get paid for the metal dumpster, but they're not fussy what you put in it as far as the metal. So there's some bicycles with the tires still on them, they shouldn't be on it, you know, things like that. So Royal's been good that way. So our system seems to work okay. It just needs to get tightened up a little bit, I think. But that's something to think about.
But I thought they still had to pay for bags of Sharon, even though they,
I did not check with Sharon. I checked with Stanfordville, Pleasant Valley, Unionville.
Also, I bet you Sharon has a different garage pickup service, you
It's also
know,
a different
than
state.
we have here, but, so maybe it won't work. I think, and I don't, I think it's just for residences, Bob, that they allow you know, if you pay your property taxes at your residence gets a pass, but
There's a similar one in Rhode Island, similar to that. They also do a recreation assessment.
Right.
So everybody in the community pays a recreation fee,
Yeah.
even if you don't use it.
Right.
And you also pay a refuge fee, which streamlines the ability
Right.
of what has to be done in the office. But all things we can
just
invest.
something to think, yeah, we can, if I could go back there, I can ask how they, you know, how they do it, and, you know.
If it falls
I'll
under,
put it on my
Leslie, see if
list
it falls
to
under their
check on it.
tax, see if it falls under a state regulation, because New York might be different. New York might,
Interesting,
that.
yeah.
they may not allow that.
Yep.
And then what would you, like if it was tax time, I processed their tax payment, I would send them a sticker? Is that how it?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
if they came in to pay in person, you give them a sticker, and if they, you know, once they pay, you would just, so you know, some people want a receipt, but if you have to opt in for that, I think everybody just gets the sticker returned to them in the mail.
Okay,
Yeah, like in Maine, I just had to get one, and it's supposed to go in the car window.
yeah.
I tape it in the car window so I can take it off when I
Yeah.
get out of the state, but
Yeah.
Maine does the same thing.
It's not a bad idea.
Okay. Howard, do you have anything for us? We have to go to executive session. Thank you, Matt and Danielle.
So I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second it for somebody.
Who did the motion?
Bob second. Mike made.
Mike made it.
Bob
Bob
seconded.
seconded. Okay.
All of us.
Talk about
nice.
Turn this off.
Leslie,
I'll give you a call, yep.
I'll give you a holler in a few minutes.